against immigration raids that began in Los Angeles and spread nationwide. Today's events in about 2,000 cities and towns were organized by the No Kings movement, which calls the administration's actions authoritarian. There were rallies near Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in West Palm Beach, Florida.
No ICE! No KKK! No fascist USA!
In Boston, where it was raining. In Atlanta, with Proud Boy counter-protesters looking on. And in Philadelphia, at the flagship No Kings rally. Local officials urged protesters to demonstrate peacefully and avoid blocking roads. The No Kings protests were organized by a coalition of groups. Lisa Gilbert is co-president of one of them, Public Citizen, a progressive advocacy group. Lisa, what have you been hearing from across the country about crowd turnout and that sort of thing?
It's been amazing. We've seen, as you mentioned, 2,000 plus events, millions of people turning out peacefully to say, in America, we don't have a king. In America, we're a democracy. It's been amazing and inspiring, frankly.
So no reports of any problems, no violence, no counter-protesters?
Very limited counter-protesting and absolutely no violence. We've been very clear with folks, events. Everyone is turning out with the same message that we've seen authoritarian excess and corruption in the Trump administration. We're watching them crack down on free speech, detaining people for political positions, and that's just not what America is all about. And people have really hewed to that message and been very clear and safe.
There was no Kings event scheduled for Washington. Why was that?
That's right. Well, as you know, in Washington, the president is simultaneously holding his bombastic birthday military parade. We wanted to make clear that we're not protesting the military. We are instead protesting the administration's authoritarian actions. We didn't want to stand in front of the military parade, but instead have a split screen showing what the president is wasting taxpayer dollars on here in Washington and what everyone everywhere else in the country is calling for. An America they can believe in.
Officials say nearly 20,000 people are at the protests in the city right now. Good afternoon. I'm Johnny Archer, and we're bringing you special coverage of today's protests as demonstrators rally against President Trump's policies. Hundreds of protests are happening in cities across the country. Let's get right on now to NBC 10's Miguel Martinez-Valle, who is live along the Ben Franklin Parkway in Center City. Miguel?
Yeah, Johnny, and we've been following the protesters as they march from Center City, starting at City Hall, through Love Park, through Logan Square. Now you can see here they're in front of the Art Museum, and it is definitely a huge group of people. We're in the outskirts right now of the crowd, but if you can see the crowd kind of going in towards the Art Museum, it's packed shoulder to shoulder out here on the street. You can see people still flooding in from Center City through the Parkway, trying to get in to hear some of the speeches that are happening. There are different speakers taking to the stage. You can see a lot of signs, a lot of American flags out here. Now, we have seen it overwhelmingly very peaceful. People of all ages showing up today to participate in the No Kings Day protests. We just witnessed what was, it seemed like some kind of argument between two different groups of people, but police were quick to respond to it. And if you take a look around, I mean, there are police officers kind of just all over, and the main goal there is to keep the peace, make sure that this remains a peaceful protest. We've been asking people why they came out here, because we've seen people come from all over.
By President Trump to expand the power of his office. They call the protest No Kings. More than 2,000 cities here in the U.S. and across the globe taking part in these protests today. It all comes after days of tense protest over immigration raids and President Trump's deployment of the military to Los Angeles.
San Francisco held one of the largest demonstrations today. Some 10,000 people hit the streets, marching from Dolores Park, you see right there, to Civic Center Plaza. The protests were mostly peaceful, but police say a pedestrian was hit by a car during the march. We also witnessed a brief scuffle between demonstrators and Trump supporters. You're seeing it right here. NBC Bay Area's Tom Jensen is in San Francisco for us tonight.
We've been bracing for possible violence, as we've seen in the past once the sun goes down after these large and emotionally charged demonstrations. But so far tonight, calmness has prevailed. The San Francisco No Kings protest was massive, and the messaging on the many signs and costumes was clear.
The message is no kings. Is that America, we took care of a king 250 years ago, and this wannabe king is not going to happen.
Organizers urged everyone to remain peaceful, but there were some tense moments and an angry confrontation between protesters and a group of people wearing MAGA hats in front of City Hall. After some yelling and hat grabbing by protesters, one of the MAGA supporters said the incident was reported to police. All of the protests scheduled on the same day as President Trump's parade in Washington, D.C., celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, which also coincides with his 79th birthday. Protesters are concerned about the parade, but also talking about California U.S. Senator Alex Padilla being forced to the ground and handcuffed at a press conference in L.A. this week.
On the ground. On the ground.
And many were outspoken about the deployment of guard troops and Marines in L.A. and the aggressive nature of migrant arrests and deportations nationwide.
What concerned me more was what was happening in L.A. and ICE, because I just thought that was a huge, disgusting show of aggression and authoritarianism.
My dad was pick lettuce for everybody. So you guys want us to feed you, but you don't want to keep us here. That's insane.
Organizers say 10,000 to 12,000 people turned out for the San Francisco march and rally, and an estimated 3,000 more stood in formation on Ocean Beach, creating a giant No King banner.
We just want to show that the numbers are growing, and we see that every single week on these different road rallies and marches, and that we're not going back down.
Hundreds more marched to the Oakland City Hall steps for another protest. The daughter of migrant farm workers protesting in San Francisco told us what she believes the president's policies are rooted in.
Hate and fear. Love and compassion brings everybody together, but hate and fear divides everybody.
And organizers say they will continue to come together in larger and larger events, pushing their love for democracy and their disdain for